everyone, and welcome to Indie Business Radio for Monday, March 16th, 2009. I'm your host, Donna Maria, and you have arrived at the one place where we empower you to enjoy your life, build your business, and have your way. Well, no matter what you think of the outcome of last year's presidential election, you'd have to have been living under a rock not to notice how President Obama and his team employed the power of the Internet to engage supporters to drive both their message and their campaign forward. I was a subscriber to all three of the major candidates' email updates, and I got the most messages from all over the place from the Obama team. The amazing thing was that it seems as though every single technological tool they employed was free. Not low cost, but free. How did they do it, and why do we as indie business owners care? Our guest today will answer those questions and more. He is David Bullock, the managing director of the White Bullock Group, and he is also on the faculty at Stomper.net. He is also the co-author of this wonderful book, which I now hold in my hand, and which you just may be able to win as a listener to today's show. The book is called Barack Obama's Social Media Lessons for Business. It's a wonderful book with an interactive online companion. David Bullock brings an engineer's perspective to social media. His focus is helping businesses drive sales, and his method is viewing social media as tools in his kit, tools that can bring measurable results. Welcome to the show, David.
Thank you, Donna. Glad to be here today.
So, David, tell me a little bit about your background and how it led up to this extraordinary book that you've co-authored.
Well, I'm an engineer by trade, so I actually have an engineering degree, but don't let that scare you. I've been out of engineering for quite a long time. And what has happened is we were just curious, innately curious, because we noticed that Barack Obama just had more things going on online than the other candidates. So just that engineering quality of, what's going on there, tied to really following him online is what got us to where we are today. Social media is not going anywhere. In fact, it's gotten more and more popular, so to speak, over the last several months, especially now that President Obama used it so well during his campaign.
Well, that certainly was quite obvious to anyone who was even halfway observing. So one of I've heard your book referred to, and throughout here, the book, it talks about something called Web 2.0. Tell us what that is.
Okay, well, let me step back a little bit. Web 1.0 is where we started, where a website was just there and you went to it and it basically talked to you. Web 2.0 is now what we have with, blogs and Twitter and video, where there's an interaction between the website and the person coming to the website. There's actually two-way communication, a dialogue, so to speak. And that's what Web 2.0 really is all about.
Right. And so how did you come forward to, understanding how to employ these kinds of methods in your particular business before you wrote this book?
Well, if you go check it, davidbullock.com, what you'll see there, first and foremost, is a blog. And a blog is one of the cornerstones of the Web 2.0 culture. You have to have some way for people to leave comments and such. So I've been blogging since 2004. Mm-hmm. So if you go there and look at the blog, you'll see that there's things I write, people comment, I comment back, and therefore there's this conversation. That just lended itself for me to start looking at the Facebooks, the Twitters, and Twitter, which is a microblogging platform. It has just been a monster in the marketplace now. Was one of the tools that Barack Obama used more than anything else as he moved forward getting his message out.
And, David, what would you say is the kind of mindset that an independent business owner would need to adopt in order to be successful at using some of these methods? Because there are so many of them to choose from that a person who's new or newly introduced to them, who's wearing all the hats in their business, as we talked a little bit about before the show, running around like chickens with our heads cut off, right, doing so many different things. What kind of mindset do you need to approach this with in order to use it effectively, just broadly before we narrow things down?
Well, I guess the best way to answer that is by example. If you go over to www.barack20.com, you'll actually see the model that we used. And it's, a blog. Start somewhere. Start with just getting your thoughts, finding a story in the marketplace, and writing about it. And so don't get overwhelmed by, all the 9 million different platforms out there. Start with the one thing that you can do, which would be the blog.
Mm-hmm.
And then after you start writing about things that are important to you or things that you find interesting and that folks may be interested in, then you can start looking at, well, what about video? That lends itself to YouTube. Well, what about audio? That lends itself to podcasting. Again, if you go over to www.barack20.com, you'll see that we actually, the very model that we use, we created the blog. And as you can see there in the back of the book is a timeline. We created the blog, then we did a podcast, then we employed YouTube. Just take it step by step. Don't get overwhelmed because it's easy to get overwhelmed, especially if you're a business owner who has to wear all those hats. You can slow down, really, in this particular case because it's not going anywhere.
Right. So, David, even before we start actually looking at the tools, let's say there's someone out there, which most of my listeners fit this description. They already have a business.
Okay.
They may have even had a business before, well, maybe not before blogging came into existence, but certainly before things like Twitter and other things came into existence. And like every day, it's like a new one comes along, even an old one, which all of a sudden gets new prominence. So help us step back a little bit from the specific tools to what needs to be going through our minds as we approach these tools so that we can bring a certain type of, I guess, aggressive or activity to them before we start picking and choosing which ones might work best for us.
Okay, well, good. I hope you people have their pencils out because we're going to take this way back. Now, I think I see what you're getting at. First, if you have a business, this is primarily for the folks that already have a business. Say they're a dentist or a plumber, they have a business and they're running it. First thing is, who are you targeting? Who are your customers? And more importantly, not just who they are, but where are they looking for information? Are they indeed online? Because some markets aren't really online just yet. Some people are still going, into the newspaper or the radio or in a magazine to find information about that thing that you're selling. So the first thing is to think about, well, who's your customer? But more importantly, where are they getting the information from? That's the number one thing. And if you do find out that there is a way for you to get to those people inexpensively, now that's where you want to start concentrating your effort and then asking the next question, what information is not easily found, or what information would they be interested in, and can that information that I'm going to give them position me as an expert, the guy to go to for this thing that they need a solution for. So again, you start with who are they, and then who can you be to them, and then where are they looking, and then after where they're looking there, what can you provide them? Is it a book? Is it a DVD? Is it a movie? Is it a how-to report? What is that thing that can precede you actually delivering your product or service, which is your ultimate goal?
Right. So it's not so much the tools to start with. It's ultimately who your target audience is and where on earth are they. Because like with Barack Obama, they were everywhere. I mean,
exactly.
Really, all he had to do was just put something everywhere, and he would accomplish his goal. And as indie business owners, we can sort of have that mindset as long as everywhere is defined as where our customers are.
It's funny that you use that as an example. Barack Obama's customer or his prospect was anyone who was able to vote. Anyone.
Right.
Whether they were Democrat, Republican, or independent. It didn't matter. If you were an eligible voter,
right,
you were one of his prospects. But it goes deeper
well, and
than that.
You know what? We had 16-year-olds come to our door with posters for him at one point, which is just amazing. But I see your point. But that's just and maybe we can say to anyone listening that if you hit your target, guess what? There's also going to be some splash out or whatever you want to call it that brings in other people too. So that's a good point.
Oh well, and that was a wonderful example because one of the two things that Barack Obama was trying to do during his campaign, he had a twofold mission there. One was to get donations, and the other one was to get votes. And actually, as I think about it, he had a third mission. That was to get volunteers to carry the message even further.
Right.
So
right.
If you look at that from a business standpoint and extract the business lesson, what you're looking for is, okay, where are the people? Great, okay, you can find them. Well, what is it that I ultimately want them to do? Okay, that's engage with me, and then, transact with me, be in business with me. But then further, the question is called, it's called user-generated content. And that in the old school was getting word-of-mouth marketing going, get them to voluntarily say, well, this is a good product or service. I want to tell someone about it. I want to help them promote this message in the marketplace. And those are 3 steps that people, it's kind of it's an analogy between what he was doing and what a business owner is ultimately looking to do. First engage, get something in their hand, transact, and after you transact, then get them to start moving in the marketplace.
Oh, David, I just love that overview of the questions we need to ask ourselves. That was priceless. Thank you for sharing that. And, let me ask this, too, because I have heard some people ask this question, so I'm going to pose it to you. In your experience and all the research that you've done, to what extent, or is it true, that to some extent this kind of social interaction and engagement process that you're talking about on the Internet supports or replaces or provides an additional platform for traditional search engine optimization for your website?
Okay, search engine optimization, for those of you who don't know what that means getting ranked in Google, Yahoo, and MSN. Cornerstone of Internet marketing. Social media definitely supports that push because nothing right now, one of the things we found when we were doing the Barack 2.0 project is that we could put something on Twitter and it would show up on CNN, which is a traditional outlet, but then again it would also show up in Google, which is in the search engines. So we found by our own testing, both on davidbullock.com as well as barack220.com, that when you put something out, when you promote using social media, it shows up just about everywhere.
Yeah, and it's funny because in my experience anyway, and I am such a social person just naturally, but search engine optimization has always made my eyes glaze over.
It's magic.
Well, and not only that, but it changes all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
It changes in technologically frustrating ways that even though these social media tools we're going to be talking about change, they don't change in the same ways because you can so easily see other people using them. You can't do that with search engine optimization. It's like a mystery behind your webpage.
Well, we have a little bit of time, so let me give you folks an analogy of what search engine optimization is. So therefore, it won't be the art and the black art that it commonly is thought to be. If you look at your web page as a book, meaning there's something there called a title tag. And the title tag is analogous to the title, which if you walk into a bookstore, the only thing that you could see is what? The title. That's a very important thing for you to have on your web page. If you don't have a title tag, the search engines have no idea what your page is about. And the next thing you want to look at is if you open a book up, you have the inside flap and you see the outside flap. Usually what's that? That's a summary of the entire book. That's analogous to what they call the description tag. Now, if you go further and go to the very back of a book, usually you see the glossary, and it's nothing but the words. That's analogous to what they call the keyword tag. And then if you go into the book itself and start looking at the pages, that's the actual text, and that's the body. Every web page is nothing but a title tag, a keyword description tag.
Right.
And down into the body, and that's it. So if you do those things and one just basically supports another, you won't have near as the problem with search engine optimization. And it's not really a science. It's really mechanical.
Right. And once you start using all these tools we're going to be talking about, you have even more ways to accomplish the goals without having to get too tied down into the specifics of search engine optimization. If you just joined us, I'm talking this afternoon with David Bullock, the co-author of Barack Obama's Social Media Lessons for Business. If you'd like to join us in the chat room, all you have to do is log on to indiebeauty.com and click on Radio Show, and you'll be right there, right here with David and I as we discuss these important issues for indie business owners today. So, David, let's move from there. We've sort of narrowed it down. You've got to do some serious rolling up of your sleeves and analysis before you jump into all these things. Otherwise, will you kind of be all over the place, splashing around?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. One of the things that we used when we were putting together our project was in every business and in every sector, there's something called a rising story. There's something going on that the newspapers and the television, they're already talking about it. So if you're in whatever business you're in whatever industry that you're in, look for a story that is already being told, that is interesting and people are already, gravitating toward. If you can wrap your expertise around that story, guess what you have? Something that people will talk about, and that's marketing.
Right. Right. So you're really saying, among other things, getting people talking, and that's what your book talks about that President Obama and his team did such a good job of.
Yes, exactly.
And you know, what a fantastic example that is, because not only do we all know that it worked, but all you have to do is look at the different websites that he has, go back in history, and you can find out not only that they worked, but you can see how they worked.
The examples, I mean, what is this saying? Success leaves clues.
Right. That's a good, I like that.
Okay, it's always out there. So if you went to go see the Barack Obama site directly, mybarackobama.com, which is the blog platform and chat platform, you'll see everything there. And what we did with our project, we chronicled what was going on, what tools he was using, what was happening in the marketplace from June, actually before June, but we started publishing in June all the way to November. So looking at the user-generated content, looking at how Twitter was used, how many people he had on Facebook, exactly what he was saying, what his text messaging looked like, all those things we chronicled. So you won't have to go all over the place looking for it. So we put that in the project over at barack20.com. That's all in the blog.
Excellent point. Success leaves clues. On that note, the clue is don't touch that mouse. This is Donna Maria on Indie Business Radio with my guest, David Bullock, author of Barack Obama's Social Media Lessons for Business. We will be right back with more.
Why is everyone listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com? Because it's the future of talk radio. Every day, more and more people are finding Internet radio as not just an alternative media, but as a replacement to traditional AM and FM broadcast stations. Internet radio offers a wider variety of programs, convenient on-demand listening that meets your schedule, and fewer commercial interruptions. And GlobalTalkRadio.com is already leading the way by matching this content with a highly targeted Internet audience. GlobalTalkRadio.com offers its listeners one of the widest programming varieties on the Internet, from business and finance to self-improvement, paranormal, health, literature, romance, politics, and more. There are also opportunities for prospective hosts who would like to host their own weekly or one-time talk shows. Want to learn more? Check us out at www.globaltalkradio.com and see the future of talk radio today.
Welcome back to Indie Business Radio. I'm talking this afternoon with you in the chat room and out there listening, and David Bullock, the co-author of Barack Obama's Social Media Lessons for Business. And we just had a wonderful introduction by David to what we really need to think about, where our heads need to be as we approach all this social media opportunity that we have out there. But David, right now, you mentioned at the top of the show, one of the first things you talked about was user-generated content, and that's what we're talking about creating. Now, I wonder if you could comment on this. Last week's radio show guest was David Silver. He's the author of the Social Media Business Plan. And one of the things he talked, or the Social Networking Business Plan, I'm sorry. One of the things David Silver talked about was, the creation of this user-generated content and how the websites that we place it at actually are making all the money off of it. So how can we sort of balance our real need to participate and use these tools with our real need to maintain the ownership of it as our intellectual property?
That's a very good question. One of the things that you can do, social media is about collaboration. It's about you commenting and taking a conversation which already exists and then adding to it to make it even more valuable. But one of the things that you can do very quickly and easily is that when you go onto a blog or you go into any of these properties and you put something out there, you have to tag it with your URL, getting those people back to your site. Because if you're the one who has created the value, you have the insight, you have an interesting position which is valuable, you want people to be able to go get more of that because you are the originator of that content. Case in point, in the Barack Obama campaign, there was a gentleman named Will I Am who created a music video that was about the campaign and about what would happen next. But in the video itself, you saw will.i.am performing, and you saw his URL, his name. You saw all those things that branded him. So although he was showing up on a video platform, at the end of the day, if someone wanted to consume more of his value, more of his content that was on someone else's free platform, guess what they would do? They would come seek him out via either the search engine or via direct link. And that's how you really, it's a matter of getting your content promoted widely, but always having a link back to you. And that way you can always be in the loop of the revenue.
And this makes it really important, as you mentioned earlier, to pick up on the blogging experience and get out there involved in by way of commenting at blogs that cover issues and subject matters that you are interested in or have an expertise in.
Exactly. I mean, you are the expert, and you can become the expert very easily by commenting, reporting, and basically becoming, what, for lack of a better term, a citizen journalist in a marketplace. So it's not just creating new content, like it doesn't have to be a music score, it doesn't always have to be a report, but just you lending insight that is valuable that someone else can use can make your content valuable. And that's what we attempted to do at the Barack 20 site. We saw something happening in the marketplace, we reported on it, we blogged about it, we spoke about it, created podcasts, and from that we created a book, and now we've gone to another channel, another media channel.
Right. We have a question from the chat room, David, about your comment about tagging being keywords. What exactly, can you explain a little bit more about how to tag content at another person's blog?
The way that you tag content on someone else's blog, a tag is something that the search engines use, primarily blogs. Like if you have a video or a image, a picture, and or a blog post, typically you can put a tag to it. A tag is analogous to a keyword that the search engines would use. And typically there's a slot in whatever browser you're using that says tag. And when you put that tag there, that is the keyword that you would like that particular item to be found for. If you're on, say, Flickr, or if you're on a blog, you'll notice at the bottom it says tag. If you're on YouTube, there's a whole slot that it said, how would you like to tag this? And boom, you put the tag there, and the search engines will find you accordingly.
Right. So there's so many different ways to do that. When you go to a blog, now all blogs are different and they all don't have exactly the same capabilities, but I have never seen one that didn't allow me to at least leave my website address, the URL of my choice.
Exactly. But
at a minimum.
Right. There's some neat things about blogs. With every blog, or anytime you do anything with social media, the thing that you want to do is the headline or that first line that you put there, it should have the keywords that you want to be found for. That's the first thing that you should do. So if it's something on Barack Obama, then in the headline, Barack Obama's use of social media. So what do you have there? Barack Obama, and you also have social media. If someone is searching for that on that particular platform, guess what? You'll show up. Every social media platform will allow you to at least put a headline there. And, yes, You're right. That URL pointing back to where you want them to go after they've consumed that insight, that's something that you always want to make sure is going exactly where you want them to go to do what? Continue the conversation.
Good. Excellent information. Good question, too, out there in the chat room. Keep them coming. So, David, we have all these different tools, and we're going to talk, to the extent we have time this afternoon, about some of the ones that are discussed in your book. But let's go ahead and start with actually blogging. Let's think about, most of my listeners are involved in the health and beauty field. So we can actually narrow down our conversation to think about that topic, because who isn't concerned about their health and their beauty, right?
Exactly.
So there are any number of keyword terms, including your brand name, if you get it out there enough, to where you can hone in on whatever topic within health and beauty, organic, natural, whatever it is that you are concerned about, and start creating your digital trail.
It's a matter in the health and beauty field. First of all, people are always going to be concerned about their health, and they're always going to be concerned about how they look. So we know that market is never going anywhere. We know that. So that being the case, when you're blogging or on Facebook or even using Twitter, the thing that you can do is it starts with the keyword. It starts with how do you want to be found? And the way to find out how are people looking for you is to go over to Google and type something in and see what comes up. You might find that your competition has the headlines and the keywords that you want to use as you start with your blogging and as you start with Facebook and as you start using Twitter.
So again, as you said, success leaves clues.
It always does.
Very nice, very nice. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Nobody does, right?
No, there's content out there, and like the example, and I invite your listeners to go check out the Bullock20.com site because the model that we used is there. The blog is there. The way we capture email addresses is there. You can look at the blog post and see how they are headlined. You'll see how they're tagged. You'll see how it shows up in the search engine if you go look. Success leaves clues. Mm-hmm. And we left the model out there for you. It's no secret. This is how the search engines will work. If you're trying to promote any product or service, go look at davidbullock.com to see that blog and how it's positioned. Look at Bullock20.com, see how it's positioned. Go to the search engines right now. Type in the keywords that you're interested in finding information about. See what's there. Print those pages out. Look at them, and you'll start seeing the blueprint for your marketplace unfold right before you.
Right. There really are patterns. Everything, the beauty of this, too, is that everything is so transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so nice because as independent business owners, we have typically fewer resources and fewer experts at our disposal, which is one of the reasons why I do this show, to bring fantastic people like you who have delved into these topics and are able to share information. So thank you again for being here. And it's just wonderful to see that there are things that we can do. Now, we do have to take our time. We have to take some time to do these things. But again, if we don't, David, what are there consequences to not getting involved in this?
Well, yes. And I'll just say yes, because if your competition is using Twitter, if your competition is using Facebook, MySpace, if they're using these tools, if they're using LinkedIn and you're not, that means that they're getting opportunities that you are not even in the space to partake of. You cannot be picked up by a search engine if you are not in position to be picked up. And the consequence is that you'll not get the business. You won't even be in the race. Now, the thing is, this stuff, yes, it's moving quickly, yes, but you gotta start. You got to start. Mm-hmm. One tool. If you did nothing today but go to Twitter, open up an account, and start, then at least that's a step in the right direction.
Right, and we just got a question from someone in the chat room who said, okay, I went over to Twitter, opened up a Twitter account, but I can't think of anything to say.
Well, you know what? It's the funniest thing. If you can't think of anything to say, what I would encourage you to do is go over to Digg, DIGG.com. Digg is an aggregator of information.
Mm-hmm.
And what you can do over there is just type in what you're looking for, and you'll start to find stories that people are interested in writing, and you'll see how many of those are they've been dug, meaning they've been promoted up through the ranks. You can go over to Digg and find interesting stories. You can go over to Propeller.com and find interesting stories. But more importantly, what you can do is if within your space, you type in a keyword, you find an interesting blog post that you find interesting and you suspect your market would find interesting, and you do nothing more than say, hi, found an interesting blog post about yada, 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 and put the URL right there. Guess what? That's how you find content. One of the things that we use is a tool called Bud URL, BUDURL.com. And what that will allow you to do is you can take a very long URL, like one from a blog post or one from a magazine site, and you can shrink it down so that it's smaller and it fits on Twitter better. So say you found an article on 7 brain habits that you didn't know about, and the URL was 9 million characters long. You could shrink that URL, the redirect URL, down in Bud URL. But here's the important part. but URL will allow you to track to see how many people are clicking on that link. So over time, you'll know not only what people are interested in, but what they're finding interesting because they're clicking on the link. And that's how you gain popularity in the marketplace.
Awesome tips. I'm not tweeting. I'm tweeting all the time, but I'm actually typing in the links that you're mentioning in the chat room. So those of you who are there, make sure you click on those and save them for later. And if you're still trying to figure out something to tweet about, all you need to do is scroll to the top of the radio page here in the chat room and follow the instructions to let people know that you're here listening to Indie Business Radio with my guest, David Bullock. And now you can use that as a tweet. That's my suggestion. Hey, got to start somewhere, right? Well, I'm trying to make it easy for everyone.
Exactly.
Short break here with David Bullock, the author of Barack Obama's Social Media Lessons for Business. We're going to come back and talk specifically about specific social media tools like YouTube and FriendFeed and MySpace and Meetup and Twitter. So if you have specific questions about those tools, you can type them into the chat room, let us know what they are, and we will pose them to David when we come back. This is Indie Business Radio. Just hold on. I'll be right back.
Want to stay on top of what's new in the radio industry? Sign up for a free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio, available exclusively to listeners of globaltalkradio.com, and find out what's new in the world of online radio. Listeners can find out about new shows and special guests. People with something special to offer can find out how to become a guest and how to prepare for an interview. And prospective hosts will find a valuable resource for everything from planning the new program to selecting topics and guests, recouping expenses by selling advertising, and more. Sign up today for your free subscription to the Future of Talk Radio by visiting www.globaltalkradio.com and learn about the future of talk radio today.
Welcome back to Indie Business Radio. I'm Donna Maria, and I am here having the time of my life talking with you in the chat room and out there listening, along with David Bullock, the author of Barack Obama's Social Media Lessons for Business. In the final moments that we have left, we are going to ask David some specific questions about using some of the most popular social media tools that President Obama used, and we're going to start with a blog. And by way of background, David, I want to share with you, I launched my first blog in 2005, and it was an absolute wasteland, a ghost town of epic proportions for a very long time. And the reason, and I've even kept it live so I can show people who need to be encouraged at what an awful job of blogging I did when I started out. So can we start by addressing just for a few moments those people out there who don't have one yet or who have launched one and don't know what to do, that it will get better?
Got it. Let me give you two examples very quickly. So go over to Barack20.com or go over to DavidBullock.com and go to the blog. Okay. Those two examples are blogs that have been in motion for a while. And one of the things I'd like to do, let's go over to Barack20.com if you're able. If you notice on that page, on those pages, there's only 17 posts there, and those 17 to 20 posts were only created over a 6-month period. What does that tell you? You do not have to blog every day. So the feeling that you have to blog about something every day or the search engines will not ever find you, that is not true. If you put good content on the blog and then you promote it, using some of these social media tools that we'll talk about, the search engines will come to you anyway. They will show up. If you notice there on the blog that we have at Barack20.com, we also have podcasts there. So you have text, which the search engines love, and they'll eat that up. Right. But you also have the possibility of you going over to, say, Blog Talk Radio or any of the podcasting outlets and actually putting a link directly to a talk that you've done with someone who you found interesting and that you thought your audience would be interested in. So now you have text and you have audio. If you notice on the blog over on the right-hand side at Barack20.com, you'll find, what? A video right there. We got that video from where? YouTube. We're not incurring any bandwidth cost. We're not incurring any cost associated with the video, and we're just using it and displaying it on our site. Look, you have the blog, which you can type in. You can speak into the telephone, and you can record an audio and put that on your blog, which creates more content. And then you can go right over to YouTube and borrow content that makes your blog more interesting. So it's not, years ago, YouTube didn't exist. Podcasting was not as easy as it is now. Right. But now that text is available to us, and the telephone is available to us, and YouTube is available to us, we now have just about everything that we need to make a blog not only usable, but actually interesting to look at.
Right. Right. And that's a wonderful thing, too. And you can do all this without incurring any kind of, from YouTube anyway, from many of these places, you can borrow that content, and you don't even have to get permission because you already have it.
They're asking you to put, please, embed. You'll find embed codes and right. Like, please take my stuff and put it somewhere else.
Take my stuff, right. Please retweet.
Please retweet. I mean,
how about that?
And that is user-generated content. That is word of mouth. And what has happened is it has just become easier now because of the technology. And we also the examples of Barack Obama using YouTube, Barack Obama using the Twitter, Barack Obama using Facebook. And again, here's someone with a huge budget who's using free tools.
Right.
But we can extract the lessons, and that's what we went over in the book, the lessons that you could extract. What can you use? How can you watch the success that he's had, and how can you scale that back and use that for your business now, today, to get leads, to get sales, and to increase your bottom line?
Success leaves clues. Once again, I love that quote. So listen, David, let's talk about some specific. We've talked about blogging. We've talked a little bit about YouTube. Let's talk about Twitter and Facebook because they have so many things in common, particularly since Facebook's new homepage changes. They're very interesting. Let's talk about those two tools and how they can be used. And once again, we're talking about business owners here. And you know, David, just like you, we are indie business owners. You know, we're moms, we're dads, we're running a household. We're not just, you know, CEOs sitting in a corner office. We have personal relationships that oftentimes overlap in a significant ways with our business relationships. What are some of the tips that you can offer about using those tools together to further our interests?
Well, first, get a Twitter account, and after you get it, decide that you're going to tweet at least once a day. And the reason I say at least once a day because you'll look at Twitter and get overwhelmed and think that if you're not there for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that you're going to miss something. And all of us have gone through that anxiety of, oh, my gosh, I'm in social media. I must do this continually all day. And you'll see that there are some people who seem as though they're out there all the time. There are two tools I'd like to let you know about. One is postlater.com, and one is called tweetlater.com. And what that will allow you to do is when you're sitting there and you have that inspiration that you're going to write tweets, you're going to write messages to your marketplace, these tools will allow you to write them one time and then schedule them to be deployed over time, which means you don't have to be there, which means you can sit down and do 10 tweets, and then maybe they go out once a day for the next 10 days, if that is your frequency. But guess what? That frees you up as the business owner to do something else.
Now, David, everybody knows that those tools are available, but, you know, sometimes they just seem so disingenuous. What do you say about that?
Well, I understand how that could be, but at the same time, the tools are available for you to use. Now, the way that I can move away from it not being authentic is that if I schedule, then if I know tomorrow at 3 o'clock I have time to say just have my Twitter account open. Oh, another tool I wanted to mention, TweetDeck.com. TweetDeck will allow you to monitor all your activity on Twitter very easily. If I know tomorrow at 3 o'clock I'm going to be at my desk and available to say, man, Twitter, what can I do? I can schedule that post to be tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and then all I have to do is handle the responses at 3:15, at 3:20, tomorrow. See, so you can actually be there and be authentic and be in real time, but you can still set yourself up so that you're reminding yourself for what you need to do later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, these tools really create almost the entire system that we need to engage people about our products and services.
Yes, absolutely.
And we don't have to use all of them, right? We can, once we identify the goals, and we talked about this at the top of the show, right, David? You can't just blast in and say, okay, I'm tweeting, I'm YouTubing, I'm doing all this stuff. You have to sort of discipline yourself to rope it into the achievement of specific goals, right? Because you have to be able to somehow measure how these tools are working for you. Can you speak to that a bit?
Well, the tool I spoke of earlier, that budurl.com tool, is a tracking tool which will tell you, I put this into the marketplace, and here's how many clicks it got me, which is one of the metrics that make the most sense. You got to get clicks, otherwise nothing is ever going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So measuring using that tool is at the forefront of anything that I do. And then secondly, using the Google Analytics tool, which is available for free, is something that you want to have on your website so that you can see where the traffic is coming from and what it's doing. You can look right there within the Google Analytics tool, and it will tell you what keywords people are typing in to get to your website. It will tell you exactly which search engines are sending you the most traffic and what pages they're actually hitting. That being the case, you now know everything about your site. Nothing happens online without leaving some type of trail. Nothing.
Right. Awesome. And so here we are, and we've got our goals down. We know what we want to achieve. We're looking at some of these tools, and we're thinking about leaving what we talked about, our digital footprint. Mm-hmm. What sorts of things do we need to be concerned about in terms of, you called it citizen journalism?
Yes.
What do we need to think about in terms of thinking like that? I mean, I'm doing some training starting tomorrow at themediaisyou.com. For those of you who know about that, you'll see me tomorrow at a live video webcast. But one of the things that we all need to be concerned about, David, too, is in being a citizen journalist, what exactly does that mean, and what responsibilities go along with that?
Well, citizen journalism is you're the eyes and ears of the media, essentially. The responsibility there is that you find stuff which is interesting, that people are interested in. Find that rising story. Find things that people are willing to talk about. And as you become more of an authority for whatever it is you're journaling about, the marketplace will start to gravitate towards you as the expert. Mm-hmm. Just to back up, no one becomes an expert by being quiet about what they see in the marketplace, the distinctions that they have. People become experts by doing what? Talking about it, writing about it, reporting it, putting it on their blog. Writing, speaking is what makes one an expert. So you now, as your business owners, have the platform to do that now. You just have to be authentic for what you see and be authentic in your position with that thing that you see and how it will affect the world. That's what this is really boiling down to now.
Right. And so what you can do then is use the power of all these different tools to share your expertise. I mean, and look what you did. This book is a perfect example. I've read through quite a bit of it, and it looks like one of the things that happened, there's a whole lot of juicy tidbits in here. So, again, head over to Bullock20.com and check it out. But you had a series of podcasts. You saved the transcripts, and that's essentially a big part of the book.
Yes, ma'am. Let me give your listeners exactly the model. I encourage you to go over to Bullock20.com and see. We did a podcast. We transcribed the podcast, created a post, which was different than what we spoke of in the podcast. When it was all over, we transcribed all those, edited those, and now we have a book, which is the blueprint. Every business owner can speak something. And the reason why I say it is sometimes it's easier to speak than it is to write. If you have a recorder, you can speak into it, and you can send it over to idictate.com, which will transcribe your audio into text. Guess what? People typically don't have speaker's block. But they do have writer's block every now and again. So the model of speaking it, transcribing it, making it into text, and then redeploying it through other media is a perfect way for any business owner to get his message and his marketing pieces, his information products into the marketplace. And that's exactly what we did, and the model is there for you to follow right there in the book.
Wow. So, again, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and we can really focus on what it is that we want to share with people. And then let's talk about the two-way street. The nature of this is not just about going onto Twitter and saying, here's what I'm offering, here's my new sale. It's about engaging people. Talk to us a little bit about how to, welcome people into your world, right? You have to let the curtain up a little bit and let people come back to you so you can have an exchange with them, so you're actually engaging them, right?
It's primarily about common courtesy, and this is one of the very important pieces of the Web 2.0 world. If someone says something to you in any of these platforms, it's up to you to respond. They're looking for a dialogue. Say please. Say thank you. Follow people who are following you. If I put something out on Twitter and then they retweet it, meaning they put it on Twitter again, I say thank you for the retweet.
Right.
Please and thank you, just like in the offline world, go just as far in the online world.
Right, and offer to do something for them too.
Always. I mean, sending someone something that you found. Hey, I think this will help you. Typically, right now, the best premium that you can give to someone, before people would have keychains and key fobs and flashlights and that type of thing. Now, something you can give to someone very inexpensively is a cool URL, a cool website that helps them to either know more or do more than they couldn't do before. That's it's a premium now to say, hey, I found this cool thing that you may not have known about. Check it out here. It's easy, it's fast, and guess what that is? Free. You can do that for your customers, your clients, those people you engage in social media, and it's available for you. It's there, right on the Internet. And there's I think now billions of URLs out there, some more useful than others, but they do exist.
Right, but you have to start somewhere, and and let's be honest, most of us start with not as useful as we will become as we do this more.
Exactly. No, you don't. Here's the thing: you can borrow expertise. You can borrow, for lack of a better term, identity from those people who have marketplace presence.
Right.
In our case, we borrowed the story of the Barack Obama phenomenon.
Right, you didn't have to make that up, and it was all over for free for you to write about.
Right, it was there. It was a rising story in the marketplace. It was there for all of us. In every industry, and again, I think I said this at the beginning, in every industry, there is a story like that. There are experts. There are people you can defer to as experts as you build your own expertise. So why not borrow the expertise of those in the marketplace as you create your own voice?
Very, very good. That's right. And it really is, it's all about those voices, exchanging information, sharing your voice with others, and welcoming them into your world. And, David, it's interesting because I'm amazed at the number of people I see tweet the following question. Do I really have to respond to everyone who direct messages me? And I'm thinking to myself, well, why wouldn't you want to do, unless it's spam, why wouldn't you want to do that? That's what you want to have happen, right?
The more people that you have wanting to talk to you, the bigger your marketplace is. And here's one of the things that is such an anomaly in the marketplace now. We always act like we want to do business with people that we know. Guess what? It's those people that you don't know that you want to do business with. That means that you have to continually expand your circle, get bigger, get more people gravitating towards you, because those are your potential clients. That's your potential business. If you always keep doing the very same thing, you'll always get the same result. In this case, you want new people. You want to respond to them, even if it's as easy as, thanks for connecting, thanks for following me, great comment, I agree. That it does not take long for you to put those type of responses in the marketplace, but at least someone knows that you're there.
That you're there, and that's really where it all starts. And we're unfortunately going to have to conclude shortly. I want to ask you for your final closing thoughts on using social media, but first, Regina Mower, who always asks great questions in the chat room over at drflower.com, wants to know what the pink F is on the cover of your book.
That's Flickr.
Ah, Flickr. Okay.
Right. Flickr is the pictures, the image platform, which is available there.
That's right, and that's such a powerful tool to feed those Flickr photos. Get out there. Use TwitPic. That's another good one. I'll type that in to the chat room, too. David, your parting thoughts on using social media to engage people in your business?
Well, during these tough economic times, business owners have to do something to stay ahead of the curve. Right now, social media is available. It is free. It just takes a little bit of creativity and innovation for you to find your voice in the marketplace. It is there. If you have an idea, if you're able to find good ideas, people want to know and they want to connect with you. The model over at Bullock20.com is an example of finding a story and using that story to not only engage others, but to connect. And from here, we've created a business, which is what business owners want to do. Create something out of nothing and allow that to move in the marketplace for them.
Right, and that's what entrepreneurs do, right? We create something out of nothing.
Exactly. It was an idea that has moved. I encourage all of your listeners to go over and check out the Bullock20.com site. You can purchase the book there. You can also see the model that we used right there. If you go over to davidbullock.com, you'll see how a blog is set up, how I incorporate Twitter, how I advertise, how I don't advertise, how I handle blog posts. Again, it's there for you to actually come, look at, dissect, and learn from. It's available for you right there.
Thank you, David. Well, we got those websites, davidbullock.com. I'll type those into the chat room, and, of course, Bullock20.com. And thank you for joining us, David. Before I forget, I'm going to have to ask a question so someone can win this book. Here's the question. Type your answer into the chat room, and if you're the first person to do it, you win the book. What does the pink F stand for on the cover of the book? That's going to be our question. David, thank you so much. I hope you guys will all join me tomorrow at noon Eastern for themediaisyou.com. Just register at www.themediaisyou.com, and I'll be there live webcasting to help you put on your media hat and get the word out there about your business. David, you've been fantastic, and everyone in the chat room is saying that. Appreciate you being here. We'll see you next time on Indie Business Radio. In the meantime, enjoy your life, build your business, and have your way.
You're listening to GlobalTalkRadio.com.